Welcome to part 3 of what not to do when teaching phonics. Now, this one's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to try to jam pack a lot in. Not that I don't always try to jam pack a lot in, but I'm going to try to jump from some questions that came yesterday that all led to the same place, and it was a place I wanted to go anyway, which the questions were all following along the lines of what is the pacing of the secrets? I introduce one a week. Should I be introducing more than that? Should they all be able to be introduced within a year? What age should you start the secrets? Now, the best way to umbrella this is to look at what the research shows, which is explicit, systematic, sequential phonics instruction. That is absolutely what we know works with kids. Now, underneath that is the brains need to know. I need to know why I'm doing what I'm doing right now so that I have a way to put it in context with the bigger picture. Where is it going? What is it for? Why am I even involved in it? So with phonics, phonics exists for one purpose, and it's not to be good phonics knowledge, vessels. We're not learning phonics as its own content area. It's not history or science or math. Phonics is the bridge to the ability to read and write and communicate and be literate. So phonics exists to transfer. The reason that we want kids to know letters and sounds and phonics skills is for immediate transfer, and ideally to read or to write a word that they're in the middle of trying to figure out when they want to look at the lunch menu and pick their food, or when they are in the math lab and they're trying to figure out what they're supposed to do in the word problem. So if we look at phonics for transfer, it seems to go in a different direction than systematic sequential instruction, but it actually doesn't and shouldn't, because the best of both worlds is to have both things living together. Systematic, sequential, explicit phonics instruction within the context of what I need right now, immediate skill transfer. And it is actually possible to do that. The trick is, again, it's that spark line, that difference between what we know about the brain versus how we teach kids to read. Taking advantage of backdoor routes so that we can satisfy both masters. That's really the key. Otherwise, one negates the other. If you're going systematically and sequentially through the phonics scope and sequence, you by default have to spread things out, which means when Shelley is spelling her name, she will not know why to put a Y at the end of it, because in her head that looks like Shelia. And she will not get to know until second grade, 2 years after she's been writing her name multiple times every day without any understanding as to why or how this is happening. And again, that skill would also transfer to reading and writing words like why, my, by, shy, all these other things that kids are going to be experiencing and encountering in that time frame while they're waiting 2 years to get the positional sounds of Y phonics skill in second grade. So it seems like if we go sequentially, we're going to be slowed down and we can't satisfy the brain's need to know. On the flip side, it seems like if we teach to the brain's need to know and we focus on why we're doing what we're doing, then we're being incidental. Then we're teaching in a kind of a namsy-pamsy way, which means that we're not following what the research shows, which is, again, systematic and sequential. Now, the reason that normally you do have to be systematic and sequential with these skills is to make sure that you don't leave anything out and that all stones are left, no stone is left unturned, all bases are covered. You also need 3 to 4 years, because when you're going through the front door and you're trying to make sense of these skills, or not make sense, but repetitively practice skills that don't make sense, it takes that long to satisfy every kid's need for the practice, that use it or lose it. Everybody's need for use it is different to not lose it. So a lot of kids take a lot of practice and a lot of time to grasp all these skills. If we're going through the back door where we're actually making things make sense, we're connecting new information to what they already understand, where to be sneaky at the end, not at the beginning. Like why, how you might feel when you're standing next to somebody that you have a crush on and you kind of like them and you go, because you're embarrassed and you look so cute. When you don't like someone and you're going to stick your tongue out at them and go, so when we can connect old to new, we can cheat, we can skip, we can streamline. Now, having said that, I want to answer those questions under this umbrella of explicit, systematic, sequential phonics instruction. The secrets are, first of all, systematic, because it's a very specific system in which these things are shared. And by these things, I mean secrets. A secret is systematically shared anytime kids notice that letters are coming together and not doing what they should. That's going to happen quite frequently. Now, you can pick and choose your battles like you pick and choose what keys to put in your key ring. You don't want to put keys on your key ring that you only use a couple times a year or that you're not going to get a lot of mileage out of. So if it's a key, however, that's going to be used every day because the door that you need to get through is going to be in front of your face constantly, then you want to hold on to that key and keep it handy. So for example, if it's August, it's the beginning of the school year, I've got to stare at my calendar every single day and I've got to see the word August that to my kids at kindergarten level is going to look like August. I can't in good faith sing the alphabet song and tell them A says at and A and then march over here and track the word August because both of those capital A's look the same. So systematically, when I find myself in that position on a repetitive needing basis, that's my cue to tell a secret. Make it make sense, keep my credibility, keep the brain in the game. And that's really what you're trying to do here. You're trying to keep the brain in the game by always having a way to make sense, not leaving these strings that are just dangling in the middle of nowhere for kids to wonder how this connects with that. By always making sense, you keep their wheels spinning. You keep them building those patterning networks. If not, then this, but if not this, then that. And if that doesn't work, then what's over here? So the systematic approach allows you to formally introduce secrets when they're needed and will provide the most bang for the buck. However, the sequential aspect is also in place because it's a dual track system. It's a dual track of sequential instruction, meaning that the sequential instruction, what you teach first, what you teach next in regard to the secrets, most frequent phonics patterns are obviously taught first. Your TH, your SH, your CH. That, of course, comes after the individual letters and sounds, which you start on the very first day with the better alphabet. The better alphabet doesn't have to happen by itself in a vacuum. It doesn't help me to know what H says if I don't also know, let's say that the because I can't read the word her unless I have both of those pieces. It takes two to tango. That was what yesterday's video was about, part 2. So it's not that you do the better alphabet first at the expense of everything else, and then you teach the TH next at the expense of everything else. You are looking at this from a bigger perspective, which is a dual track approach. You're teaching the most frequent sounds first, and in the book it talks about what those are. They're also going to be the ones that will follow suit with the sight words that your reading series gives you for kids to learn. Sight words often can be read and not often, almost always can be read and not memorized, but whatever the sight words are that are in book 1 or story 1 of your wonders or your journeys or whatever your reading series is, or even your phonics series, whatever your program is, you use that as your guide to not only teach what's needed, but to also follow the sequence of most used first, most frequent sounds. So that's in there, that's your baseline. But being open to the idea that kids are gonna need more, faster. Shelley needs to know why she's Shelley. Herbert needs to know why his name is Herbert. He's got a double whammy in there. So having the ability, looking at the word August, trying to read a word on the lunch menu. Lunch is a word we're going to see every day. Having dual track approach means not only are you doing a sequential order of most frequent patterns first, starting with individual letters, but you're also doing what a doctor does when you go in for a physical. He's got a systematic checklist that he's following, but if you've got a giant purple rash on one side of your face, he's going to hit that too. Because it doesn't help you to get your physical if that rash isn't addressed. In order for everything to come together and for you to have a healthy outcome, he's got to deal with everything that's actually going on. So dual track means you're systematic and you're sequential, but you're also open to giving more. And in this way, you're not slowing things down, you're speeding things up. So in this way, that systematic approach, it's not to make sure that everything's covered over the course of 3 years. They're going to have all of it in the first year. And when I say have all of it, I mean at their reading level. You know, TH is in a lot of words. It's in the word thoracic and it's in the word the. So you can toss out that there are these two letters that don't get along, and anytime they have to sit together, they go, but it's going to serve different purposes for different kids. And for some kids, it's just going to serve the purpose of it's fun to go when we get to practice that little thing on this card. Because even before they know what those letters are separately, they can know because they already do. That's the fun. And the last little piece that I didn't really get to talk about was explicit. Secrets are explicit because they are right there. What you're calling out everything. Anything that doesn't do what it should, you have the ability to call out. If your kids need it, you can tell them the secret.